the voice of the people.
Flying, and we flying. Girl, pack a bag, let's take a trip. Brand new scene, escape the skits, the trials and trips, and make you sick. Stay a while or make it quick. Take some pictures, make a flick. Your face, your lips, the shape of your hips are some of the reasons I make these chips. Let's start over with our relationship. You call me your king, well you my crown. It's more than your smile, it's even your frown. You don't let anything hold you down. I do anything, let me hold you down.
Good morning, Little Rock. We are here on another not so fabulous day. It's a little gloomy today with the rain, but I'm looking outside this window at KBF on the second floor, and near the icicles on the trees are actually just very beautiful. So there's always something beautiful to look at when you go outside, even if it's on a rainy, kind of dreary day like today. Today we're going to be continuing with our wonderful, fabulous Fit 5, and we have Miss Tori Gordon on the show today. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm wonderful, wonderful. Seems that you got a little turned around on your way over here.
I did. Can't trust a GPS. you gotta depend on yourself.
Well, that's good. That's good. So, first off, you're a yoga teacher.
Correct. Yes.
And right now you're teaching at Soul Yoga Lounge.
Right.
And where's that exactly?
So Soul Yoga Lounge is actually part of Clubhouse Fitness, and it's located right at the bottom of the Cantrell Road Hill. So if you're heading towards, away from the Heights, just keep going down the hill, go about 2 blocks, and it'll be on your left.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So just opened a couple months ago. It's a great facility. You should definitely come check it out.
Well, that's wonderful, wonderful. So for those of us who are maybe a little iffy, tell us exactly what yoga is. Because, you see on the commercials all those people doing these strange poses, things that you're like, I'm never doing that. So
Right.
What is yoga?
What is yoga? Okay, well, this question could be answered so many ways. And so I'm going to do what is yoga to me and
Okay.
what, in that sort of way. First and foremost, yoga is a spiritual exercise that incorporates elements of your body. The asana or the postures that you see most of the times, people on TV or on Facebook standing on top of a rock with their head behind, their foot behind their ear or something like that. Those are called asanas, and those are the postures. And that's typically what we associate with yoga. But there's so much more to it. There's a vast history, and it's something that once you get exposure to it, I definitely think you should just do more research and figure out what causes you to connect with yoga. But for, basically, if you go to a yoga class at a gym or at a studio, what you would expect is, there'd be a teacher, there'd be some students, and you'd probably start off with some pranayama, which is just breathing exercises. Yoga is really great for relaxation. And so you'd start off with probably some breathing exercises and some meditation. And during this meditation period, I always try to encourage my students to, sometimes I offer a suggestion, like let's talk about gratitude or let's think about our loved ones. But I always try to let that be their time, so in that way, yoga can be yours. If you're going through a difficult relationship issue, you can think on that. If you want your yoga to be more of a spiritual experience, more of a religious experience, you can meditate on whatever, Allah, God, whatever your faith dictates. It's your time. But so you'd start off with that, breathing, little meditation, and then you'd begin moving through the asana sequences, which is what we're familiar with, sun salutations.
I can do that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. A little balancing and, some stretching. So that's basically what yoga is. It's a form of spiritual and physical exercise. That's the way I like to see it. That anybody can try. At the same time, it's not for everyone. Some people just can't, they just don't get into it, and that's fine. But I do encourage everyone to try, because if you give it enough time, it will at least make your body feel good. It will calm your mind. And, you can take the parts that you like of it and just figure out how to make your practice unique and something that benefits you. So, yeah.
It gives me hope.
Yeah. No, you came to my class. You did well.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
So how did you even end up in yoga? Is this something that you grew up with, or is this something that you found maybe as you were in high school or as you were in college?
Well, I discovered yoga while I was in law school. I used to dance when I was, back way younger. So I danced for about 10 years, and so I've always loved stretching and moving my body. And when I was in law school at our gym, they had yoga classes, so I thought I'd go give it a try. And I saw it just as a way to stretch, sort of maybe get back in dancer shape. And I started going probably once a week, and I was just like, this is really awesome. It really helped me. I suffer from anxiety. I get really nervous, especially when I was in school. So I found it was a safe time and a safe space for me to just allow my body to relax and just completely let my mind just go somewhere else. And so I fell in love with it then and just kept taking a few classes. And then once I started practicing law, I decided to do my teacher training kind of on a whim. And that's just sort of spiraled. And all of a sudden, when I was in DC, I was teaching 10 classes a week. And it just turned into teaching yoga has turned into something that I absolutely love and could not live without. It's the thing that makes me the most happy. Definitely.
So what happened with law school?
Oh, goodness. Oh, wow. Well, with law school, I graduated, passed the bar. I practiced at a firm in D.C. for 2 years, and it just wasn't a good fit for me. It was very stressful. It was around 2009, so it was rough, with the job market and the economy. And it was just a lot of pressure. I think I was practicing some areas of the law that I wasn't particularly interested in.
Right.
And so after much conversation with family and friends and finally just, getting the courage, I just quit my job with sort of no real plan, and started teaching yoga. And like I said, I was only teaching one class for fun, and then I realized that, hey, I can make some money doing this. Right. And I needed to make some money since I just quit my job without a plan. And so I just started teaching. So presently, since I moved to Little Rock, I'm teaching about 2 classes a week. And I'm studying for the bar in Arkansas. So I couldn't stay away from the law too much. I invested too much time and money just to walk away completely. But hopefully in a few months here, I will be the yogi lawyer.
That would be interesting.
Bringing love and legal advice to Little Rock.
That's an awesome slogan. You should claim it.
I know. I should write that down.
Well, we'll be looking forward to it. We know that even with our problems in law, we can come to you and get some peace.
Exactly. That's what I say. It's I may not be able to give you the right answer right now, but we can sit down and breathe, and it'll feel better. We'll feel better afterwards, put things in perspective.
Oh, that's wonderful, wonderful. So at what point in your, journey through yoga did you say, was that moment that you were like, I really enjoy this. This is what I want to do. I want to teach, and just move just from being a student to a teacher?
I will say it absolutely happened after I taught my first class it was actually at the Liaison Hotel in Washington, D.C. I trained with Faith Hunter from Embrace Yoga in D.C. And Faith is really great about giving her students opportunities. So she's very well known, and so she this hotel wanted some teachers to teach rooftop yoga classes in the summer in DC. So I was there. It was great. And after I taught that first class, I felt such a high. And it sounds like I'm lying or making it up or being dramatic, but I just felt like I had taken some of the best drugs ever, And I don't even do drugs, but I could only imagine how good it felt. And I was just happy. I smiled probably all day. I couldn't wait to tell my family, couldn't wait to tell Faith, my friends about this experience. And, I kept subbing that summer, and the feeling never went away. And I think that's pretty awesome if you can do something for a year, and every time you're done with it, you're still, it gives you a reason to smile and gives you energy. Not many people can say that about their jobs. So, it is demanding to come home and then, okay, I got to go teach, get my mind right. But every time I leave from class, I always feel better than I did going in. So that's what keeps me doing it. And especially, I think, in a state like Arkansas, where yoga isn't as common, you don't have as many studios, people aren't as exposed to what yoga is. I'm having so much fun just seeing different types of people come into the studio and doing things like this, talking to people and having free classes around the city. I also am doing a class in Whitehall once a week that's grown, The first week there were 5 people, and then last week there were about 20 people at the class.
Wow.
So people are curious and they want to try it, and I'm just all about creating a safe space where they can do that, where they feel comfortable, because I know it's intimidating, you know, if you don't look a certain way, or if you don't think you're flexible or not the right yoga type, or it can be very intimidating. And the studios are quite segregated here, and you know, I've had awkward experiences as a teacher, um, walking into classes, and I get looks almost like, this is weird, you never see this. Um, but you know, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Like, I got this. I can be fine in the class, but I can only imagine what it would feel like to a beginner
Right.
to come in and sort of, because you feel that. And to act like it doesn't exist, I don't think it's doing anybody a great service. But it does exist. But I invite people just to, you know, sort of be courageous and just give it a try, and don't let those little feelings of discomfort, or you may not look right, or you know, you're not the right type of person to do yoga. Don't let that prevent you from at least trying it,
Right.
because you never know.
So there are obviously different levels of yoga. There has to be. But so do you only teach beginner classes? Are you advanced? What do you do?
I can teach all classes. I have my 500-hour teacher training, so I've received a lot of training. My personal practice is not quite at that level. I can do a few advanced postures. I can stand on my hands. I can, you know, bend in certain ways. But there's definitely, I like to think of it as beginner and unfit, and beginner and fit. Unfit sounds bad, but not very active. There's that level of beginners, and then there's a level of they're fit, you know, maybe they're a runner, or they lift weights, or they do Zumba, but they've never tried yoga.
Right.
So that's a different type of beginner. And then you have the people that have been coming for about 1 to 6 months, who are just getting to feel what the postures feel like in their body. And I would consider those like, you know, basic to intermediate. And then there's the advanced yogi that's been practicing probably for, you know, at least a year, probably 2 to 10, you know, because they can, you know, they're pretzels and everything looks easy, and you know, you would never think that they have so much strength in their body. So at Soul, I teach an all levels class, which is open to anybody, so beginners through advanced yogis. I used to teach a class that was geared towards beginners at Soul, but we're sort of putting that one on break for a while. And the one in Whitehall is very much an intro to yoga class, where we go through and I explain everything. You should feel this in your quadricep. You should feel this in the outside of your hip. Turn your toes a little bit more to the right. Here, let me adjust your shoulders. Very hands-on. So the level is important. I would say if you've never tried yoga, try to find a beginner class. I think going to an all-levels class at first intimidates a lot of people, and they don't want to go back, or they hurt themselves, because one of the biggest things that I see in yoga is that people, if they're relatively fit, they look at something, and because the teacher makes it look easy, or because someone else makes it look easy, you know, they think, hey, I can do this. You know, you see that a lot of men do that too. When they come into yoga, they're like, oh yeah, it's going to be easy. And then they realize that their arms are shaking in downward facing dog. So I say just like focus on what's going on in your mat. Do what feels good in your body. That's one of the most important things you can learn in yoga, is just to listen to yourself and realize the difference between discomfort from a stretch that's going to take you further, and pain that's a sign of injury that's going to, you know, take you off your mat for a couple weeks or months.
Right.
So, yeah.
So so you talk about yoga and your body, yoga and your mind. How has yoga affected any other parts of your body? Maybe your diet, or what other things has yoga impacted?
Oh gosh, well, you know, yoga is a lifestyle. It depends how much you want to accept of it. I know for me personally that once I started practicing, I definitely became more aware of what I was putting into my body. I got into the whole, I like to call it the wellness revolution, and you know, natural remedies and all that stuff. I tried, you know, practicing veganism for a while, tried vegetarian. I haven't tried gluten-free, but you know, I think that a lot of people who practice yoga are vegetarians, because there actually is a principle in some of the teachings that talk about nonviolence. It's called ahimsa, and that's why a lot of yogis decide to practice, that vegetarianism, because they don't want to obviously eat something, harm the animals, eat something that was once alive. But what I think is just that when you're doing good things for your body, you want to do it all the way around. And so if you're dedicating an hour every 2 to 3 days where you're trying to further your yoga practice, and you're focusing on, breathing in positive air and breathing out negative air and tension and relaxing, you want to give your body the type of fuel that it needs, not only to make it through the class, but also give you that clarity. And I don't think there's necessarily a right diet for people who practice yoga. I currently eat meat. That's how I feel the strongest.
Right.
But there are plenty of yogis who do not eat, meat, dairy, any of that kind of stuff, and that works for them. But I think that as you continue to practice yoga, more than anything, it's the community that you start, developing. And even if your yoga practice doesn't make you want to stop eating something, you're probably going to hang out with one of those crazy yogis who's like, hey, let's go eat some hemp and quinoa and, and avocados, and you have to sit there and pretend like it's good at first. But then you try it and you're like, this actually is delicious, or you'll meet people who are like, oh yeah, I've been vegan for 20 years, and they can cook you food that is just the best food you've ever had, that you never would have thought would have been vegan, and missing all these things that you think you need.
Right.
So I just think that exposure is great. And I think one thing that's good about yoga is that almost everyone who comes to a yoga class, some people want it to be their time and don't really want to focus on other people, but generally it's a safe space. It's very accepting. You may feel intimidated at first, but once you sort of allow yourself to be vulnerable and just let the yoga do its thing, I think that you'll just meet some really great people, and it'll expose you to, people with different lifestyles, and, as far as what they eat, how they live their lives, what they believe. And it's a good way to, I won't say test your beliefs, but really make sure you're doing things for the right reasons for you, and just see what's different. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, maybe it doesn't work for you, but at least you took that step and tried to learn about other people, which I just think is an amazing thing to do. So, yeah.
So in learning about not only other people but yourself, what has been the most difficult idea or just process to go through since you've been exploring these options in essence?
Yeah, well, it's hard for me because I'm definitely type A. I'm a lawyer, and I pretty much ever since I graduated high school, I've been grind. Work hard, study hard, play hard, do all this stuff. If you send an email, you need to respond, or someone sends you an email, you need to respond to that email within 12 hours, just very by the books, kind of rigid. And also I always have a lot of stuff going on in my head. So like I said, I get very anxious about certain things. So that's a real big challenge because, I think people expect yoga teachers to be all calm and the calm voice, and they go home and drink their tea and, put little patchouli oil on their temples. And I would love to be that person, but most of the time I'm not. Most of the time I'm like in traffic, like, oh my gosh, I gotta get to yoga class. It's really challenging for me to calm my mind down. What I've started doing recently is every night I just roll my yoga mat out, and I just spend 5 to 10 minutes just doing some simple, restorative postures, nothing big, just some forward folds, some hip stretches. And that's really helped me over the past couple of weeks, especially during the holidays. Just creating that 10 minutes for, your personal time. And then forward folds are great for calming the mind down. We hold so much stress in our hips, so that when you do hip stretches, it really is a release. And it's helped me sleep better just over the past 2 weeks. It's sort of my time. I cut my phone conversations off. I'm like, okay, I got to go do my stretches. So that's really helped. But that's, calming my mind down is a huge challenge. And then also just feeling comfortable in your own skin. I feel like it's a very ideal world to say that, like, oh, I'm happy at whatever shape I am. I think that over the past couple of years, I've gone through sort of for the first time in my life, like a weight struggle, with like weight fluctuations due to stress and moving and different relationships. And it's hard to sometimes practice yoga in a body that you're not comfortable in.
Right.
So, when I was back in DC 2 years ago, I had a certain amount of strength. I weighed a certain amount. I could do poses, certain poses pretty easily. And then it's like, you realize that, okay, you put on maybe 10 pounds or something like that, or you're dealing with indigestion or just whatever's going on in your body. And you go to the studio and all of a sudden that arm balance or that twist that was easy is so challenging. And so for me, it's been something that I've had to just watch and just be like, okay, you know what? You might have been able to do this like a couple months ago or last year. Today, you can't do it. That's okay. That's going to change. You keep working at it. It's going to get there. It doesn't have to be right back where it was. But just sort of that acceptance of like, hey, I may look a little different. My body may feel a little different, but that's okay. And I feel like we don't do that enough in general. I mean, like I wish especially women would just look at their mirrors and just be like, where I am is fine. Make positive improvements, but just accept where you are with your body. It's hard to do. It's also hard to do on a yoga mat, but that's what I'm working on. Those have been some of my challenges over the past couple of months and years. But overall, I enjoy them. It makes me better. So
good,
it's all good.
So what are the different types of yoga? I know when I went to it was hot yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was warm. It was a little humid.
Yes. Well, at Seoul, it's basically a heated yoga studio. The heat is amazing. It's this radiant heat. It's not a space heater. It's not dingy. All the air is clean. But we keep the room at about 90 degrees. And so a lot of our classes are hot yoga, but we're practicing either a hatha or vinyasa style. I would say if you sign up for most yoga classes in the United States, it's usually going to be a vinyasa style. And vinyasa just means linking your postures with breath. So every movement, it's, hey, inhale, reach your arms up towards the ceiling, exhale, fold forward, that sort of thing. I love vinyasa because for me, I connect the most with it because it's dynamic. You're constantly moving. The breath work is great, forces me to breathe. I like practicing yoga to music, so I just can sometimes go to a yoga class and really just have a good time listening to, and be like, oh, that's my jam, But so that's vinyasa style, and that's what mostly we offer at Seoul. We also have Jivamukti, Kali Impel. She teaches at Seoul. She's a 500 Jivamukti teacher. She's excellent. She teaches at several yoga studios around Little Rock. And then you have like Bikram yoga, which it gets a lot of attention. Bikram yoga, I believe it's done in 105-degree heat. And they have a series of 26 postures that you do every time you come to class. So it's an hour and a half. You do the same postures every class. In a vinyasa class, usually the teacher will shake it up every week. So you're going to be getting different postures, working different parts of your body. There's Iyengar yoga, Ashtanga. Most of the vinyasa sequences come from Ashtanga. Ashtanga is probably I would say the big daddy of all the yogas, like sort of where most of the other yoga forms came from. But I think that a lot of studios are just getting creative with how they offer yoga now. So you can find, yoga with weights, yoga, hot fusion yoga, which is, it's a hot room, but you're doing more hatha moves, more stretching, just all different types of things. But yeah, so that's, like, I would say, like, if you're a beginner, and you're a little intimidated by the heat, I know at Seoul we do offer some classes that are, they're not hot, but I would suggest probably a hatha or a vinyasa class just for beginners, because that's where you'll sort of see the postures that you're seeing on TV, the down dog, the tree pose, those versions have been probably commercialized the most, where you're going to go in there and have a little bit more idea of what to expect,
Right.
rather than if you go to like an Iyengar or Ashtanga class or something like that.
Okay. When is your next class?
My next class is this Saturday at 9 a.m. Like I said, it's rock and flow, so I always have good music. I like to keep the music loud. It's an all levels class. And then I also teach a class at 6 p.m. at Natural Bliss in Whitehall, Arkansas. So if you're in the Whitehall, Pine Bluff area, you can come check that out. That class is $5 at Soul. If you're brand new, we always welcome new students. So the first week of classes is free. So definitely don't let money prevent you from coming and trying us out. So you can come to class, and not only will my class be free, but then the rest of the classes for the entire week are free. So that's a really great opportunity. So, yeah.
And then we can also follow you on Facebook, yes?
Right. Yes. I try to be good with my social media. It's hard sometimes, but the name of my business is Revelatory Yoga. It's REVELATORI. It's on Facebook. So on my page, I post playlists. I post information about specific postures, just little anecdotes, quotes to make you feel better, pictures from some of my classes. I also, I like to cook, so I like to put different recipes up there, pictures of what I've been cooking. So that's a really good source of information. I also link to other pages of yogis that are, more advanced teachers, or who, just more famous, like Catherine Budig or Faith Hunter. I like to follow a lot of them, so I try to provide the people that are turning to me for insight. I turn them over to those people because I'm like, they really know what they're talking about. So that's me on Facebook, and then I'm also on Twitter at Tori Gordon Yoga. So, and Instagram, but I don't really Instagram that much. It's too much. It's too much. I mean, Twitter is even too much, but I gotta do it.
Completely understand. So, thank you, Tori, for coming on this show. I know I learned so much about yoga, things that I didn't know. Makes you want to go out and try it again.
Yes, please do. I saw you that one time at class, then you didn't come back. I'm going to call you out on the radio.
On the radio.
She did not come back to my class.
Wow. I'm sorry. I will definitely be back there again. Maybe even on this Saturday. And that's at Soul Yoga Lounge?
Yes, Soul Yoga Lounge. Yep.
Well, that is awesome. And so make sure you go on Facebook, Twitter, not Instagram, and follow Tori Gordon, just so you can get more information on yoga and her life and recipes, and just to get to know a little bit more about the yoga community.
Yes.
So that is all for today, Little Rock. But thank you again for listening. Make sure you tune in next week for our fabulous Fit 5. We'll be having a guest from Wow Fitness, and maybe you can win some prizes. I don't know. You got to tune in to find out. Make sure you follow us on Facebook at Crafting Conversations, as well as visit our website to find out more about our previous guests and our upcoming guests. And you can also hear previous episodes at our YouTube page, which you can find on the website at craftingconversations.com. So that is all for us tonight. Crafting Conversations is underwritten by Dunbar Festival of the Arts. For more information, please visit them at dunbarfest.org.
Girl, pack a bag, let's take a trip. Brand new scene, escape the skits, the trials and trips, and make you sick. Stay a while or make it quick. take some pictures, make a flick. Your face, your lips, the shape of your hips are some of the reasons I make these chips. Let's start over with our relationship. You call me your king, well you my crown. It's more than your smile, it's even your frown. You don't let anything hold you down. I do anything, let me hold you down. By now I know you